Welcome. We're so glad you're joining us because we are very fortunate to be able to reflect on one of our major concerns at the moment, a tremendous challenge to us as a human family living together on this planet. And that is our crisis of the change in our climate and who is responsible for it. And then what can we do about it? We're all very familiar with the growing concern. It's reported in the media, in the press and television constantly. And we're also noticing that it is a much younger age group among our family who is leading the protests, drawing our attention to the dangers we're facing. But it is everyone's responsibility. And so we're very happy to be able to talk with Sara Felber, who was one of the official observers at the large meeting on climate change that took place recently in Poland. And I'm sure you've read a great deal about this in the press. But Sara was there. So we're happy to have her with us for her impressions and what she can share with us that will help us in our own search.
Yeah, I want to show you some pictures I took also of Katowice, the town where the climate conference took place. That's just a picture of a Christmas market.
Aha!
Because they had like a Christmas market going on around town during this time. This is already the security section of the conference, and it is built up like an airport security check. Okay. Like you can imagine, you can leave your shoes on, but no phone, like you have to put your jacket down, your luggage, through all of those X-ray
Yes.
security features. Yeah.
Do you really feel that there was a threat? I mean, did you feel threatened to be there?
No, the thing is, I read a great deal about the TSA, which is operating in America for airport security. And it's more an effect, a psychological effect for the public to feel safer. This is one of the first areas you get in when you are at the conference place itself. It was a huge building. It was a very beautiful building, architectural-wise.
Yes. And was it new? Had been built for this sort of thing?
Not especially for that. They already had this kind of conference place for some years, but they built those white tents. There were a lot of white, big structural tents around the main building, so they had to expand more of the place, of course. But this is one of the action hubs where some speakers were speaking, or people were signing up for an allowed sort of action to take place, like holding up signs. They had to tell 24 hours before to the COP people that they are going to perform an action, how many people are there, what is the cost, what kind of props do they need use, like just signs, or are they going to make noises? So you had to tell them. But it's a great way for observers like me with an observer status to really show all of the diplomats and politicians that we're people here and we are protesting what you're doing here on this area too. So,
now let me just interrupt you and ask you. You were an official observer.
Right.
Now, how did you become an official observer,
Right.
and what responsibility did you have?
it was a whole ordeal, so it's not easy if you are not affiliated with any sort of party of a nation that is a delegate for your nation to go there. you either have to go to an NGO, a non-governmental organization, and be selected, or just one of the chosen ones to represent your NGO at the conference. And there are different badges you get to hang around. So the party badge is if you're actually from a party, from a nation, to go there as a delegate. So you do all of the negotiation work, stuff like that. Official observer status is different. There's also press. So press is allowed in certain areas. Party people are allowed in certain areas. And observers.
Party people meaning political parties?
Political parties, yeah. And for observers, you can either, as I said, be affiliated with an NGO, but I was, how do I say that? I wanted to be the youth delegate for Austria, so I sent in a CV and stuff, and it chose 2 young people from Austria to go with our party and just be like the quote youth. We do include our youth, but not really, because they couldn't get into all of the negotiations with their party badge. But still, it's reflecting the image of we are including our youth in this ordeal. But still, it's a start. It's getting better. It has been worse. But I didn't make it, which was fine. I got to know the 2 youth delegates from Austria and also the head of the delegation, Helmut Hoschensky. I have a picture also with him. So I just wrote all of the officially accepted NGOs of Austria, which was written down at the website of the COP, because it's all quite transparent, who's going there with whom and stuff like that. Everybody said, we don't have any badges left, we're sorry, or we can't do that anymore, stuff like that. But a friend of mine, she is working for a youth collective all over the world and also in Austria, and they get the last minute badges. So NGOs all around the world say, we have a badge left for this and this time, do you need it? And I already took holiday from work for that time, so I had the time, I wanted to go, and I got it in the last minute, basically.
Good. Now, I've got a very strange question to ask you. What age range do they call youth for this sort of meeting?
Probably students.
Well,
16 plus till 30, something.
6 to 30?
I can imagine.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So that would be youth for a sort of organisation like this, or for a meeting like this. They would consider anyone who had been invited or somehow was there between the ages of 16 and about 30 would be today's youth.
I can imagine also, earlier, but you wouldn't see kids running around COP. So Greta, back there, she was 15, she now turned 16, would be like the youngest I've seen there. But she's also, a figure for something greater for all of the youth. That's how I got there. And then I took on couch surfing. So I just got to know locals, which is always, when I go somewhere, I need to get to know locals, because that's only the way you truly experience a place too. And I wanted to know about where the COP took place. So the town of Katowice, and what is driving the people there, how they feel about it. Because it's an odd choice of place for a climate conference.
Yes. And what was the most important thing that you discovered then?
In the town? I think I was surprised about the indifference of the conference to the locals. It was, I thought, more maybe of a driving economic factor, that they could probably benefit from it. But mostly the people I talked to, they didn't really know what's going on, or they weren't really interested in what was going on exactly. They just complain about the increase of police. There was a lot of police presence, and also, more public transport, traffic.
Yes. Now, what about language? Because the local people, you didn't speak Polish?
No.
Was it a sort of global English?
I mean, at the conference, all English. Everything was English. I mean, we have like 5 official languages for the UN, I think, like French,
Yes.
Arab, stuff like that, English too. Also for Poland, because I was very curious why Poland and why Katowice. Basically, the conference takes place in one of the major regions of the planet every year. So it's a very old system, but this year it was Eastern Europe. So how do you define Eastern Europe? It's like, it's an old definition and we should move on, but
Yes.
it's still the old system. So next year it's going to be Latin America. So this is how it kind of works. And Katowice in particular was chosen to show the world and not the population itself that they are trying to transition and they are trying to grow in terms of a green, through a green lens, to lift up their image for the greater.
But when you left the conference, did you leave with more hope and more joy, or more questions and uncertainty?
I think I before going there, everybody told me, you need to focus. There's too much going on and you need to find your niche to really experience it deeply, because you can focus on agriculture, you can focus on gender, you can focus on indigenous people, and or just law or politics. And my thing was climate communication and psychology and health, because we worked in the health group also to make a position paper of the young people, and basically to tell them we wrote a position paper, we want this and that in our Paris Agreement, rule book, etc.
Now, wait a minute, you went a little fast there.
Yeah, sorry.
Because what I wanted to pick up was what you said was your focus, which is climate change and psychology. How? I mean, how do you connect them?
It's everywhere. So climate change can be a major trauma for people in all different ways. It can be a trauma for people in the global south, losing their homes, being just victim to circumstances they did not contribute to, that we as Westerners contributed to a great deal. It can be a trauma for people being scared and not educated enough here, fearing immigrants, not knowing why they feel this and why they are so polarized, but also in terms of effective behavioral change for an individual in this society, doing the best they can to prevent, further waste, further using and consuming, and basically being victim to this structure they grew up with and they got taught as a moral guide. So I think my major psychology focus will be helping people overcoming their own cognitive dissonance in terms of telling themselves everybody else is not doing anything, why should I? And helping them to see there's so much good to do, and there is just this little moral shift to be done.
Yeah. Now, what was your main aim for you in this conference? Was it something you wanted to say, something you wanted to do, or just information to bring back and work with others, or what?
I'm not sure. I'm still not sure, because it was a lot, and there were a lot of people I met that kind of changed my view on the whole topic in 10-minute cycles, basically. It just switched all the time. Also, the overwhelming feeling was frustration, because you feel like it's like, being told there's no Santa Claus or something like that. You feel like there are these people that have the power and that are in charge, and you kind of have to trust them because they do legislate and they do have this overwhelming power over you without you doing anything against it, basically. And just seeing how they behave, because it is, as Greta also said, they are children. They're like fighting in a school. There's the popular ones, USA, the European Union, the people who are kind of cool in the school. It really is like a school. And then you have the outcasts, you have the island states that don't really step up for themselves or have, the ways to step up for themselves. And the bullies, like Saudi Arabia and Russia, who just don't want to do this whole thing. And they just try to block all of the, paragraphs and fight over terminology when it comes to women's rights or when it comes to health. It's a kindergarten. And that was the saddest part about it, because you just want it to work and you just hope there's someone who knows how to do it. But then you see it's just, the same kind of
human nature.
It is human nature, and it reflects in every system I observed so far. In every system you can see the structure over and over and over again.
When we meet in February, the group that's coming, the title is, quite simply, Climate Change, ?
Okay.
So who owns the planet?
Mm-hmm.
Or who does?
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you.
Who owns the planet? It is a global capitalist mindset. So I think the ones...
Say that again, slowly. It's a capitalist?
Yeah, a very capitalist mindset. And it's unfortunately the kind of thing, like how we do it, because as you said before when we talked, they want to, like, Bombay wants to be like New York. So you get this, it's like a commercial, an advertisement. You see these gorgeous pictures and you as a collective, as a town or as a nation want to strive to that because you think that's, bliss and that's the highest we can get without knowing or with overseeing the tremendous damage this kind of mindset creates for their people and for their environment.
Of having meetings like this, how much do the delegates have time to sit back and reflect on the basic issues that underlie the contemporary issues, like this?
It's amazing that you brought that up. Do you know about Talanoa dialogue?
No.
It is a great concept, and
I don't think I know anyway.
It's very new.
Oh.
I think it's been implemented for 2 years now in the conferences and all around other conferences too concerning these issues. Talanoa, it's a Fijian term for talking, basically.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, we have to do those boring texts and, agree on commas and paragraphs. But we forget about the underlying things and the major, human side of all of this.
Yes.
Because we're just human. So the Talanoa dialogue is basically there for all the politicians, delegates, official observers, press people to get together and just talk. So you're on one level, on one eye level with everyone in the room, and you just, talk about your feelings, basically. So it's a group therapy session for high stakes, high, authority people. It was implemented in one of these huge conferences. so that they were actually aware of this basic need to talk.
With each other?
Yeah, exactly.
Across the differences. Yes.
Exactly. So that's the thing.
This is it.
Because you were talking about who has the responsibility to kind of get us out of this mess. More awareness, more education, personal engagement, and through that, community pressuring the structures, questioning the system, just being loud and really, really stepping up and telling authorities what they have to do, because politicians love to be liked and serve
Yes.
the people in the end to get votes, stuff like that. So it's very scattered around.
Who owns this planet? Well, who does?
The Western countries.
No.
No,
You can't own what you didn't create.
true.
Okay. So, in actual fact, the basic thing is that we have not created the universe or the planet, and we cannot recreate it.
Yep.
We don't own it. We're acting with ownership
Mm-hmm.
that we don't have. And that is a big issue.
That's true.
Mm.
Basically, the youth is very, very active as far as I've seen. We are, I say we because it's a whole community. We are trying to really educate people on the facts, because a lot of people don't know what is actually going to be argued at all of those COPs and why we have to do them. So there is the COI, the Conference of Youth, every time before the COP, where only youth is getting together and it's doing workshops and it's writing position papers and are educating themselves and helping themselves understand where they can put their talents in there to face the issue. Because you don't have to know everything and you don't have to be able to do everything. You can always contribute your best and your talents in a way to help creatively, or if you're, I don't know, interested in law, stuff like that.
And they have developed over.
You guys excited? Yeah! Okay, complete yes.
So the youth is using the internet and social media a lot, of course, and is utilizing all of those tools very efficiently to organize and manage and connect without having to fly from one place to another. And you can Skype talk and you can, I don't know, write whole documents together from different places on the earth. So through that, we were actually able to do a lot of LCOIs too, local conferences of youth, which are already taking place a lot in Africa in different states, educating the people there. They educate themselves on all of these topics. Young people, like college students or even students from schools. And also in Europe, we had the LCOI in Amsterdam already, and I went there and it was amazing. And also in Vienna, friends of mine organized that one. Mm-hmm. And we had about, 200 people throughout a whole weekend coming. And always when people come together for the same kind of reason, it creates an immense energy and a motivation and a community. And you don't feel alone anymore, because with those topics in society, oftentimes, depends where you are, but oftentimes you are alone with veganism, for example, or climate issues and why are you going to the thrift store and why do you use your homemade deodorant, stuff like that, where you can be an outcast and suddenly you are one of many who are doing this together. And that's also where
Great support.
exactly support and understanding and lifting up each other for this kind of thing. So that's how the youth is organizing them, and I think also why they continue doing it, meeting, seeing that's cool and I want to do this, and authorities, I'm sad by what's happening, so I want to help and just get involved. So there's the energy going right there. And I just went to a group to network because I was interested in how they're going to do that and what their focus was. And I met a mother, I think she's 45, and her friend also between 40 and 50, in the middle of their lives, having children and established work, established home, being actually in a comfortable position in our society in Austria, saying, I don't want this. I think it's bad what's happening to the climate. And I don't want this for my kids. I don't want this for my grandkids. We need to do something. And she said it with that words. I don't want to have to ask anyone if I feel, oppressed in this kind of sense. I just want the change. And I'm going to do a Klimavolksbegehren to get the change. And she's a power woman, really driven. But I saw in this networking group a lot of different people, students, but also people ranging from 60 to 80 being involved in saying, yes.
I've just been asked if we could bring this sort of exchange to a conclusion. And the answer, of course, is no. It's just opening up, and it'll go on expanding and expanding and expanding. But our capacity to listen without time alone, to be in silence and to reflect on what we've heard, is foolishness. So with a vast amount of energy, insight, excitement, and fruitfulness, if I can use that word, for all of us in the human family, we'll stop the discussion at this point, knowing that we all now need to take it away, listen to it again, and then come back and go further on. Thank you enormously to Sara for being here. It's wonderfully enriching. It really is.